Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Jennifer's Perspective. And this afternoon, my guest is Miss Gena Rotas. Now, Gena Rotas is the is the heart coach, and she's a certified counselor and the author of, what is it? Love Yourself.
Love
And
You, right, is the name of the book. Yeah, I'll show them online, right?
she's yes, the
Small
author of
changes,
Love You and
small
Small
changes
Changes and Quiet Gremlins
to
and Tame
change
Those Unhealthy
healthy
Habits.
habits,
Now,
behaviors, and addictions, right?
now we were just sitting here speaking of those gremlins, and I'm having like a gremlin day today.
Yeah,
And I'm
everybody
so
has that voice
glad.
in their head. Everybody.
I'm so glad that she's here so that we can just practice the mindfulness and meditation and breathe, 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 breathe. And I'm living the let go life. Don't attach yourself to anything and just release it all. Now, Gena, can you just share with us today the benefits of mindfulness?
That's a great, very complicated, and very simple question because all of the science research that's been done on mindfulness and presence of moment indicates that as we practice the skill of mindfulness and being present, we can change the way we live in the world. And we certainly have a health benefit to be able to reduce stress. So being mindful has many layers of advantages, but it's the practice of being present in the moment without judgment, which is really very difficult for a lot of us, and with kindness and compassion.
I think that is something that is doable. I think it's doable. Don't
Yeah, and
you?
many times we do it, but we don't realize we're doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
the consciousness of employing the present moment takes practice. So
Mm-hmm.
so the more I spend time in the present moment, the
Mm-hmm.
easier my acceptance of what's going on is going to be, so that
Mm-hmm.
I can allow whatever's happening to just come up and be there and not resist it.
Mm-hmm.
Not I mean, I might get angry and frustrated, but if I'm mindful, then I notice it. Oh, here comes some frustration. Oh, here comes some impatience. And then I have to wait. And waiting and stopping is the hardest thing that human being can do.
But don't you think that hate is a strong word? I think
It's
everyone has the right to disagree.
the two different things, right? To disagree, I think, is really an important part of communication and
Mm-hmm.
dialogue. But
Mm-hmm.
to
Hate
hate,
is a strong word.
very strong word, and it also tarnishes the heart. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure that hate is the truthful, you know, emotion that you might have, because hating something or hating someone, it might be, oh, I really detest it, or I don't like it, or I don't want to be with it. Very different, because when you hate someone, that
That is
takes
a
a lot of
strong
energy.
word. That's a strong word. And
Takes
it's
a lot of energy.
negative energy.
Yeah. Well, I think it drains you to be able,
Mm-hmm.
to muster up something that is hateful and
Mm-hmm.
so hurtful. And we are very capable as human beings of hurting each other. We do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not so good at being compassionate, understanding, and loving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to love something that I hate, but I don't have to actively hurt it and engage in an energy that depletes me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with anger. If I feel anger coming on, I can act on it, or I can notice it and let it pass. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not responsible for the emotions, but I am responsible for the reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have to really be responsible for the consequences of my actions.
Well, I think with the reactions, it actually gets to the point where it's okay to, I guess God has given us like emotions, and it's okay to be angry, but you don't have to act on that anger, I
Right.
think.
Right. And it's another way of looking at the fact that we have emotion. Emotions are energy,
Mm-hmm.
like feelings of energy moving through our bodies. That's why we call them emotions. They're
Mm-hmm.
feelings in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't last very long. Feelings don't last very long, but we create a story around the feeling, which keeps it in our body for a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So by practicing mindfulness, we're allowing ourselves to notice the energy that comes up. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
here comes anger. Here comes frustration. Here comes
Mm-hmm.
annoyance. And
Mm-hmm.
if I wait long enough, it will change. Everything always changes. Everything changes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't wait because we're not very patient.
Well, I think as human beings, because of our emotions, we're cyclical. We're like this.
Yeah, right.
You
Gotta
understand?
accept that. We gotta I don't resist it.
And that is acceptance. I think that is acceptance, along with acknowledging what it is that you're feeling, releasing it.
Or even just waiting for it to change.
That's true too.
You know, there's a country, and I can't remember which country I heard it from, but they never talk about an angry person. Sometimes you'll say, "Oh, he's such an angry person," right? Instead, they say, "Oh, he has anger upon him," which means he can put it
Because
down.
that could be a spirit. Yes.
He can take it on. It's
Exactly.
like, "Oh, I have anger in me,
Exactly.
and I don't want to keep it there, so I can move beyond it."
Mm.
Um, it's another way of looking at it.
Now, let's see. Let me just pull up your book here and let's take a look at that, because there were several chapters in the book that I really like, and let's see. Gena. Hmm. Now that is the biography.
There's so many parts of us and
Mm-hmm.
so many dialogues inside of us that
Mm-hmm.
coming to know ourselves is like an adventure
Mm-hmm.
out of curiosity, but without being judgmental. That's the key to mindfulness. What is. And I
But
don't
how many
mean,
but how many people do you know that actually practices that? Not too many people can do that.
nobody taught us, Jennifer.
Uh-huh.
Nobody taught us as kids how to really respect ourselves and love who we are and feel good
Uh-huh.
about ourselves. In fact, many of us spend our youth being told that we weren't capable, that we couldn't get it right. Just in
Uh-huh.
school long as how many did you get wrong? Nobody said, well, how many did you get right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so we grew up with this attitude of not deserving, being incompetent, feeling insecure, lack of confidence. So,
Now, in your book, the book I Love You, let's see. I think it is in chapter 4. That was where we left off at. But in chapter 5, you says, love your significant self. 7 ways to begin falling in love with you. Now, why do you think so many people have that, like, so many people have that, so much trouble with that? Like you get to make your own choices, you get to keep learning, you get to love yourself, and you also get the choice to choose to be happy. Why is that such a difficult thing for so
I,
many people?
I think initially the reaction to something like that is that if I love myself, then I'm going to be thought of as selfish.
Really?
And that, in other words, there's an arrogance about self-love. You can't love yourself because then you'll be, arrogant,
Narcissistic?
narcissistic, and stuck up. Total opposite of that. That does not mean you're going to be narcissistic and stuck up, and it's going to mean you are going to cherish who you are so preciously that you will make good decisions, healthy choices, fewer problems. And
Healthy choices, fewer problems. I really like the
great
sound
formula,
of that.
right? Really simple. And the truth of the matter is, until you do love yourself, it's very hard to love someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't teach kids how to love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
then,
how do you love someone that is annoying, that well, you don't share the same space, but you have to deal with them because you're in close proximity with that person?
yep,
How do you deal with that?
yeah. So one of the things that mindfulness teaches is non-judgment. And
Mm-hmm.
and what is is. So if someone that you live with is really annoying and you are able,
No, but you don't live with that person.
or they're
You
in your
don't
life,
live with that person. Not really.
well, then you make some decisions. If that person who is annoying is not really adding to my life, do I really need to spend time with them?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Then you can say, it's been a wonderful journey. I have thoroughly loved being with you. You've taught me a lot. And I'm glad you were in my life. And now it's time for us to move on. It's a new season.
Mm.
But I don't have to change that person, even
And
though,
that is the thing. The thing is, you know what I learned? You can't change people. You can only change the way that you respond to either people or certain situations.
right,
Correct?
right. So you can only change yourself, right?
Mm.
So
Mm.
if I change what's going on for me to take care of me because I've learned to love myself so much, then I'm not going to compromise my integrity or compromise my values or my morals or my ethics
Mm.
to make someone else happy.
Mm.
Not my job,
Mm.
even though I know if they would listen to me, they'd be happy, but it's not my job. It's like, you know what? Go have a great life. Have a great life. I wish you well.
Mm.
And now that's one less annoying person that I have to deal with.
Now, you also wrote in the book that who thought you were the best, that every child deserves at least one adult in their life who is crazy about them, and perhaps there's someone that you can remember. Now, why do you say that?
Well, for yourself, if you go back in your own history and you think of one person who just thought you were the bee's knees, thought you were amazing, really loved to hear your stories, thought everything that you had that came out of your mouth was gold, just gave you that sense of seeing you. They saw you for who you are. when that happens, that's when they plant this small little seed of self-love. Somebody sees me. It could have been a parent. It could have been a relative. It could have been a neighbor. It could have been a dog, your dog. I mean, something in your life thought you were the best. And when you reflect on that, it supports the fact that it's time for you to think you're the best. Not in an arrogant way, but in a genuine, authentic, loving way. That your preciousness is something that you're willing to accept, acknowledge, and cultivate.
Nice. I think that is something that we can all use a little bit more of. Now, 7 ways to reinforce your brilliance. Now, what are some of those ways? Start with a breath at a time and choose your thoughts carefully.
Tell me what page you're on.
I think that would be page 54.
Okay. Okay, so that's not where I am in this book, but.
And you have, what is that? The acronym for SMART is some mental alerts require tenderness.
Oh, right. I love acronyms. And so, yeah. And so I try and, yeah. Okay. Wrong page. I got 32. So I try and change them around. So when I wrote stupid, we thought that we were stupid. Some trip ups postpone intelligent decisions. So it's not a stupid thing that you did, because if you spent more time in making that mistake, you wouldn't have made that decision. So you forgive yourself. It's like, oh, that was a mistake. What did I learn is the question always. What did I learn? So when you need a gentle reminder, that SMART is some mental alerts require tenderness, which means that a mental alert would be a thought. When a thought comes in your head, you want to treat it with some tenderness rather than criticism or self-talk of negativity.
I can see that. I can see that.
And
I can see that, because you have to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah.
You understand? You have to be for you when no one else is for you. You have to be on your own side when you have to fight against the negativity.
Right. And discernment. So when thought comes up, you want to have enough space to discern whether or not that's something to continue thinking about or acting on or giving credence to.
Okie dokie. Now, I think we have time for a few more questions. Let's see. Exercise willingness rather than will. What do you mean by that?
So, everybody talks about willpower, right? Oh, I got to have willpower. And when you think about willpower, you think about, white knuckling, I'm really going to do this. I got a willpower to do that. And then we fail. I've got the willpower to stop smoking, or I've got the willpower to not eat some sugar, or I've got the willpower. And 2 days later, you're smoking and eating sugar or white flour, whatever it is you're trying to change, a habit. So I thought that it would be a lot more softer and gentle to say, I have the willingness to consider not eating sugar. Or, and if that's not good enough, I have the willingness to be willing to not eat sugar. Or willing to be willing to fall in love with myself. willing to be willing to be willing to be willing to consider being my own best friend. So take as many willings as you want. There's
Mm-hmm.
no rush. Nobody's getting out of this alive. So you have plenty of time to figure it out. Right? So that makes it softer on your expectation of yourself, which
Mm-hmm.
again is being gentle on you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's your
Now,
show, literally and
well,
figuratively.
let's see. And I think our last question would be love your steadfast self. 16 ways to stay on course would be to prevent relapse. And let's see. Now, you mentioned here's something. I guess this would be something for those with addictions, like cocaine demands more than everything. At some point or another, the love affair with such a powerful drug, I guess narcotic, takes your soul and your spirit. David started using pot when he was in high school and picked up cocaine in his 20s. He had been able to manage a very successful career, but lost custody of his three children in a very bitter divorce. Now 40, he is in recovery, working the AAA program and touching base with his sponsor daily, attending meetings and slipping on a regular basis. He has not been sober for more than 60 days in the past 5 years. Now, what else could the drug or the narcotic take from him? There isn't much left. Now, when you are speaking regarding addictions and you're using David as I guess, as a story or a case study, when it comes to love your steadfast self, why is the relapses real and always lingering at the doorstep of the mind? Make a decision to stay healthy and sober.
Right. So the whole issue is the mind. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about the mind. That's the thing that runs the show. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to consider reprogramming, retraining, being aware of my mind. That's going to take time and effort. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're capable of being sober and healthy is a kind of like a base. Everybody has that ability to be sober, healthy, and a capable human being. We have that
Mm-hmm.
ability. It's the old habits that we've incorporated into our minds and into our brains that keep us off track. And there's a wonderful book called The Power of Habit, because the reason you develop a habit is so the brain doesn't have to think.
Mm-hmm.
And rerouting those neuron connections in your brain takes practice.
Mm-hmm.
I have to practice being willing to be sober, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's on a moment by moment basis. And that's why any programs like AA or any Alcoholics Anonymous, any programs, 12-step programs, are going to help keep you in the throes of reminding you about a new habit. What happens with an urge just before you pick up or you're going to involve yourself in the addictive behavior is it takes over your thinking, and it's always there. That urge and that habit is always in your mind. So you have to be prepared to wait for the urge to move through you. So one of the strategies, we call it surf the urge. So which means stop and wait for that energy to move past before you go ahead and pick up or get engaged in an addictive behavior that's causing you problems. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I understand that. Now, what do you do when life doesn't go the way that you had planned it or expected it to?
which happens on a pretty constant basis.
Yeah, but that's why it's called life.
And that's why we did this right. And so your willingness to accept what is
Mm-hmm.
and not resist it. It's like,
Mm-hmm. It's a
oh, well,
surrender.
it's
It's
a
a
surrender.
surrender.
Right. And it's a faith that things are going to change. So, oh, that didn't work the way I wanted it to work. What did I learn? Can I take what I learned into the next moment of time? Because all I have is the moment. I don't have the future.
Mm-hmm. You
Nobody
have the now,
guarantees the
the
future.
now, the
Right.
right here, right now, this minute.
And I don't have the past because it's over. So if
Mm-hmm.
I make a healthy choice right now, that's going to make a difference in my future.
Mm-hmm.
If I make an unhealthy choice, that's going to make a difference in my future. So my
Mm-hmm.
power is in the present moment. And accept
Now,
is the key.
what could I do when I'm feeling vulnerable, say tired, lonely, sad, or hungry?
Have a plan and build your plan so that you can orchestrate a healthy decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling lonely, I have someone to call or someplace to go or to be, go to a meeting. If I'm feeling tired, I know what it feels like to climb into bed and go to bed early. If I'm feeling hungry, I have appropriate things that I need to eat in order to take care of my body.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm present and I can actually feel those feelings and those sensations, I'm going to pick up and go back to my addiction.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think this is the reason why many people either relapse because they don't have a plan or they don't let the feeling pass? Or I used to be addicted and I was addicted for 25 years. I've been clean now 17 years. And
Congratulations.
thank you.
Good for you,
Thank
sweetheart.
you. Like 17 consistent years,
Wonderful.
17 like I
And
haven't
my statement to
picked
you is
up.
welcome back to the human race.
Thank you.
But it took a
Now,
lot of work.
yes, it did.
Right.
Yes, it did. It took a lot of work. It took self awareness. It
Right.
took not only self awareness, but awareness of what was my triggers, how I responded.
Right.
You understand how I responded, how I not only that, how I view myself, the
Right.
people around me. I had to be aware of when I say
Everything.
everything,
Yes. Everything.
every single thing. And people say, like, what do you mean? I had to be aware of the company that I kept, the
Right.
people that I was inviting into my inner circle.
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of that impacts your thinking and your decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you were willing to be willing to be willing to be
To
willing to
be
do just
willing, to
that,
be willing.
to do just that. Healthy
Mm-hmm.
choices, fewer problems.
Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, it's actually simple, but we make
Not easy.
things
Yeah.
complicated.
It's simple, but not easy. Right.
Mm,
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. That's a very simple formula. Healthy choices, fewer problems. Works.
now, not only that, I also had to remember the pain. And
Yes.
when I remembered the pain,
Yes.
I'm allergic to pain.
Yeah. It wakes you up. It just wakes you up. And it's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I have a decision to make. Yeah.
People be like, do you have any allergies? And I'm not allergic to anything, but I'm allergic to pain, and I am allergic to like negativity.
Yep. Yes. Right. You had enough of it in your life. It's like, I'm done. Right.
But these are good things that I think people should take the time to remember.
Yes.
And when it comes to loving you, remember the good things as well. And I think that is also something that would actually keep you centered.
Right.
Because when you remember the good things and you remember to laugh and to remember that you do exist and that, you know, those quality happy moments, even the quiet moments, they're actually worth it. And I remembered on my own journey of sobriety, I remember that one day sober was better than all the years that I spent not sober or addicted. And I sat down and I realized that. I mean, like every minute, every second, every day that I spend sober, clean is one day better than when I was in my addiction.
Absolutely. 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 And that's the congratulations and that's the benefits that you
Mm-hmm.
receive on the other end, and why sobriety is your priority.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
Yeah.
It,
And so it makes for a more joyful life. It's like,
mm-hmm.
I don't want to give this up because I enjoy the fact that not only am I loving myself, but I have the capacity now to practice love, to share love, to be grateful, which we know with all the
Mm-hmm.
science around gratitude is really powerful, around the power of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Congratulations again.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, you also have, let's see, just maybe your mother was wrong. Now, can you just explain that?
Right. So that
What does that
right
mean?
with all of the clients that I've worked with over the years, the theme that many of them would share was the messages that they got growing up, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily from mom, but from dad and relatives and the media and everything else. And those messages were not supportive for your own brilliance and your own capacity to be able to be strong enough to make healthy decisions in order to have fewer problems. So
Mm-hmm.
so recognizing that all of the stuff you believed with your 8-year-old brain or your 10-year-old brain or your 15-year-old brain was not necessarily the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as a sober adult in the world with the capacity to love who you are, you realize that your poor, precious 8-year-old self really didn't know the difference,
Mm-hmm.
and that those messages were not true.
Nice. Now, love your sacred self. How to reinforce your inner courage. How do you help, I guess, others to reinforce the courage to what? Love that sacred, that part of you that is precious and that part of you that is vulnerable and without being frozen in fear.
Yeah, fear, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. I'm sure you've heard
Mm-hmm.
that before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, recognizing your own preciousness and that there is something greater than you in the
Mm-hmm.
world supports your sobriety. It
Mm-hmm.
supports the fact that you're making decisions that are going to take you to a different level of being a human being and
Mm-hmm.
the access to joy. I mean, we all want to be happy. I mean, that's kind of like in us, you know. Most people say, "Yeah, I want to be happy." Well, that takes some work. It takes
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
thinking, it takes some planning, it takes some awareness, it takes some, but joy, you're able to be joyful even in the pain because life is painful. But you can find moments in that sacred preciousness of yourself to feel moments of joy.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be a breath, or it could be walking by and having the aroma of a rose hit you without even knowing where it came from, or seeing the smile on someone's face brings a sense of joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think it's like joy is an attitude, whereas happiness
Mm-hmm.
is a destination. And
Mm-hmm.
and the sacredness of who you are is the witness to
Mm-hmm.
the sacredness and to the joy and to the happiness. So that precious part of you that needs to be cultivated.
Now, when it comes to certain I guess the things that you say to yourself, I am capable, I can do this, I have it within me, I have talent. These are positive affirmations that I think that people can say on a daily basis to themselves.
Sure. And what I like to do is to have them first figure out what they already are saying.
Mm-hmm.
And, take a piece of paper and put a line down the middle, and what you say to yourself, write that down, and then turn it around so that it's more positive.
Mm-hmm. I
And
am vibrant. I am creative. I
yeah,
have energy. I
yeah,
am strong. I am smart. You
right.
understand? Why do you think that people need or should say these things to themselves on a day to day basis?
The habits of saying, I can't do that. I'm really stupid. I'm not creative. I don't have good ideas. That's a habit that probably has been repeated many years in the making. That creates synapses in the brain that need to be altered and changed.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to change a habit, I have to create a new habit.
Mm-hmm.
So if my new habit is loving who I am, it doesn't happen overnight. I have to keep practicing that idea. If I
Mm-hmm.
don't have confidence, I can't magically have the confidence unless I practice that, even that line. I can do this. I can do this. I can do it. I can do this. I got this. That's a new thought for a lot of people. I got this.
And I guess our final question would be, would you sabotage yourself to make him or her right?
So I'm
Do,
sure,
do we do this as human beings?
I'm sure you have experienced that in your recovery of sabotaging yourself more than once,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that idea that someone doesn't have faith in us, that someone doesn't think we can do it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I've had a number of clients whose family would say, "Oh, you're never going to be sober, or you're never going to get off drugs. You're never going to stop spending money. And it's like, well, if I do get off drugs and I do cut up all my credit cards and get my life financially stable, I'm going to make them wrong. I want to make them wrong because they don't believe in me, but I believe in me. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
need anybody else to believe in me. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that I can change because that's the only person I can change is me. And it takes courage and willingness, and it is possible.
Well, I'm a witness. I'm a
I
living
know
witness
it
that it is possible.
is possible. And I know you worked hard. Bless your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And thank
It
you for
takes a
doing
lot of courage. Oh my God, Miss Gina.
that. And yeah,
Thank you so very much for your
you're
time
welcome.
today.
You're welcome.
And I think, let's see, we can connect with Miss Gina at Gena Rotas on Facebook. And Miss Gina, what is your, can you give them the .com
At
information?
GenaRotas.com, but the best way would be email, GenaRotas@gmail.com.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, honey.
Well, you're welcome, Miss Gina. Thank you.
Yeah, this was
And thank
fun.
you, everyone, for joining. And on that note, have a wonderful day. And we'll see you again on the next session. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye. Now we're going to end that.